My wife got real mad when I told her she had no sense of direction. She packed up her bags and right. Hello and welcome to Assorted Meeples. I'm Phillip, the Meeple on duty, and today I'm going to ramble a bit, rant a bit, and just go over some things that kind of end of year stuff, beginning of year stuff that you look at a little closer and you think about. I'm more the Meeple that's bigger into the crowdfunding area, or have been in the past. My collection is getting, while not complete, getting sized out. So now if I want games, I'm going to need to make room on my shelf. I have 6 boards that are 8 foot. Or are they 10 foot? 8 or 10. No, 8 foot. 6 boards that are 8 foot long that I'm trying to keep my board game collection contained to. And so that's making me ask a lot of hard questions, especially with the games that I have outstanding. And that's kind of the central portion of today's topics. I have a lot of games out that I'm a little questioning why and what's going on. So let's kind of jump over there real quick and I'll talk about those and then we'll kind of have an interesting discussion at the end about it. So here's all the games that I have backed over the time. Now, I have only backed 3. No, I have backed Naomi Van Dorn's yearly art books that kind of cover her process in her last year, which absolutely fabulous artist. I love her, and I know Braden and the other guys really appreciate her work as well. Even if they don't have any, they see the value of it. And then I've backed 3 video games. That's it. Now, those 3 video games are all late. First one being... where are they? They're somewhere right around here. Ages of Kataria, Village Story Generation game, which looks absolutely fantastic. Warside and Elements. All these are coming from independent studios and look absolutely fantastic. But they're behind schedule of where they thought they would be, which I get. You're writing code, you're trying to get all that done. Which, that's kind of my first question of is like, how much do you need to have done before you come to Kickstarter with your idea? And I'm now starting to look at things and go, is this a finished product? Like even board games, is this finished? Because I'm sorry, like if you have just a rough idea, you don't need my money. You need to finish your idea and then come get my money. And I get Kickstarter is not a store, but to me as a person, I think you should have more of a finished product than just a rough idea and a few good lines of code to make your selling point look really good. The other couple ones, so Primal the Awakening at this point is one of the oldest games that I have in my backlog that is going to fulfill. I have written off Rallyman, whatever happens with that. Yes, Bolaire, I will pay the ransom note that you require of me to get my game. Because I want that game. I got to play it because of Board Game Arena. And by thunder, I will stab somebody. Maybe not stab, take that back. Really consider stabbing somebody to get that game into my hands. Because it is fabulous and it is everything I love about dice rolling. There is very little mitigation there that I love. And it's just it still has strong tactics. I've written it off though. That and Chai for 2, if that ever shows up, awesome. Or not Chai, Chai T for 2, whatever. I can't remember the official name. But Primal the Awakening is getting close, and I'm basically kind of looking in my emails right now, waiting. I did not back this on Kickstarter. I did a late back on it because it stayed open for a very, very long time. It is now finally closed, and they are getting close to getting it on ships, but like they've been stringing this for like the last 6 months of getting it. Like, oh yeah, we're almost there to fulfillment. We're almost there to fulfillment. At some point, you either poop or you get off the toilet. And that brings us into another question of being honest with all of our people. We're going to get to that. But a lot of this was brought up by Shipwrights of the North Sea, has arrived at warehouses. I don't know what Garphill does, and Phillip does to get his games kickstarted, produced, and delivered in a 9-month window that he says every time. Whatever he does, and I'm betting it's a lot of really simple things, which is you either want this game or you don't. It's complete. Once it funds, he already has the artwork done. And yes, I know quite a bit of the artwork, depending on the trilogy, is already done because he's just bringing others and changing graphics on there. But he turns in the artwork basically right away once he gets the funds. They produce the game and get it on boats, and it's nothing crazy. I think that's where a lot of people run into problems, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But yeah, that's Shipwrights came out and said, hey, it's in warehouses. They're processing it. Once it's processed, those will be shipped out. So we're looking at like mid-February getting all the orders out the door, which I am fantastic for. Although he's using Gameready, which they're not bad, but you'll get this random email from like UPS or FedEx, like, your package is on the way. And then you're like, I don't know who that's from. And it takes, about a week or two. And then you get the email from the game company like, hey, guess what? Your game has been shipped. I'm like, oh, okay. But I also have a couple that I was like, so Henchmania, which is a Take That game, which is I'm all here for, and also Foundations of Rome. These are both second printings of a previously printed game that are 6 months, 7 months behind schedule at this point, I do believe. Actually, we can go look over here real quick. Foundations of Rome. Yeah, they're 6 months behind schedule. Hence Mania. Oh, they're not that bad. They're only October, November, December, January. Yeah, they're like 3 to 6 months back. But these are second printings. These are not like entirely new. I mean, there was a little in Foundations of Rome that was a new expansion, and just like in Henchmania, there were new ones, but not like huge things that should throw them for a freaking loop. And I'm sat a little baffled at that second printings would run into such issues. So yeah, that's another thing. Kind of want to show you a few things, and now I'm kind of just working through that. This is where the rambling happens. Like, I have 15-ish games out there. If you don't include the 3 video games, they're kind of in their own category. But board games is a relatively, almost entirely safe category to go in on. Yes, you may have delays, but very few games, and now that percentage is rising, of games that, or of companies that fold, that don't deliver games in the long run. That is rising, but it is still the minority of everything, of all the other categories, of not fulfilling on the promises that they made with when they ran their Kickstarter. Now I get, let's lay this out there, I get that Kickstarter is not a and any other crowdfunding source is not a put your money down, get your product over the table. But it is also seen as an investment, which when you invest your money in something, you expect a return. And rightfully so. These companies should be held to a standard, especially when you are at this point, you are a publicly traded company. No, you're not on the stock or whatever, but you have people who have a share in your product. Now, a number of these companies are really well at updating their people and keeping everybody informed. I think of those games that I mentioned, Henchmania has been pretty rocky on how often they shovel an update out, whether it had any information or anything. And the next becomes the question of how much do they owe you to talk to you? Well, in some rights, no, they don't owe you. They gave you the money, but the preconceived notion is that they will receive updates of how things are going. And I think that's right. I think a good company is going to keep the updates coming out. And most of the time, I will say, throw this up there as a disclaimer too, most of the time I may back and just wait and watch. Like, it's coming. It'll get here eventually. It'll get here. But now I'm kind of more, I want my game that I backed on schedule. Why I don't see why that isn't. But do they owe us the updates? Not necessarily. Should they do it to keep a goodwill towards future projects that they plan to do? Because no company plans to make just one product. Yes, they should. It is I would say almost like companies that have to put out quarterly reports because they have investors, they should at least have that. And I do believe the monthly or the bi-weekly, some go a little crazy and I'm like, dude, just please, unless you have anything important to say, don't message me. I don't need an update of everything. I don't need to see white boxes. But when your product starts running behind, I do feel like at that point, you should be held accountable and you should be updating people more with what you're doing. And if you are only doing monthly, you might want to bump it up and be like, you know what? Talking to you guys is a priority because when we go to do like Primal, they're like 2 years behind. When they go to deliver or create their next game, there are going to be a lot of people that stop and go, should I back this? Because it's going to take X amount from now to get this game, and do I really want to wait that long? Do I want to invest my money now or get some games that are available now that I can get? And then my question too is if you're doing stretch goals and stuff like that, bringing the FOMO aspect and the extra aspect of getting it on Kickstarter, how much of that should be done in advance? And personal opinion, that should be mapped out and ready to go before you ever said you want to add it. Not, well, we'll throw this in here. We got some images already that kind of do it. And then we're going to have to, after we're done, we're going to have to do this huge, big development slog where we're trying to get through it and make it all work together. Nah, you need to have it all set out and ready to go. I think CMON with the only CMON games that I have backed has been and followed has been the Marvel United campaigns. And those characters, while maybe not fully fleshed out, they knew before they started that they were going to be releasing them, and they have a really good idea, maybe not fully balanced, but they have a very good idea of how those characters look, how they're going to interact, and how they're going to play in the world. And Marvel United, while they're going to fit into some very normal categories, because how crazy and off the wall can you go if all you have are 3 actions and some special cards that you can do every turn, that's another story altogether. But they actually have them lined up and ready to go. When they release them, they know who they're going to release. They know who the next stretch goal is. I don't agree with Simon's practice of FOMO, but they did it well in those campaigns, and I appreciate that. Yeah, this is a rambling thing. And where was I? I lost my entire train of thought. But yeah, how much should they have done? Most of it. They should have most of the work done. If they're still waiting on artwork, that's fine. But if you're still actively developing mechanics for something you say you're going to produce, I have a problem with that. That's lying to people about what you have. And I don't really approve of that. That's kind of why I'm upset with the 3 video games, because they're like, yeah, we got this. Look at all these screens. And they're like, that was just a big front. It was a really nice painting that they painted for us, but they have so much work to do, and then they're working alone, so they don't have the ability to meet the timelines that they said they would, especially if they run into any snags, which, surprise, surprise, writing code, you're going to run into snags all the time. They're leaving those in their own separate pile. And then with the delivery thing, I honestly think Primal did the right thing when they waited to charge, because they kickstarted during the height of the pandemic, or maybe not the height, but right in there where it was still going strong, and shipping costs were astronomical. And they're like, we're going to put a generalization, but these are going to change just because of the nature of this project and of shipping right now. Cool. And then they waited, and they just released those not too long ago, and they're like, here's the prices. We understand they're high, but we're glad we waited till now, rather than saying, oh, we can ship it for this, then that. And I'm all okay with that. That makes perfect sense to me. I think that's all my rant, and I've been trying to get that out, and I couldn't write exact notes because my brain just refused to latch onto one idea. But yeah, I'm waiting on some very important games, like Primal's getting close to shipping overseas. Hopefully they get it on boxes or on ships by now. I'm waiting on that update. Foundations of Rome was the same place. Shipwrights of the North Sea is now in warehouses and should be getting shipped out very soon. There are lots of good games coming and getting close to being delivered and progress being made. I'm just rambling and ranting because I can. I'm getting to be an old man. I turned 40 this year. And that's where I leave you. I thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment down below if certain practices bother you more than others. What you think of crowdfunding at the moment and where you think it's going. And if you're like me and just getting to be a grumpy old man, that's perfectly fair too. So we'll see you guys next time. All right. Bye.
If you like what you just saw, please support us by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel for more great gaming content.